My guest, as part of our Hall of Fame series, is Sandi Brunel. She and her siblings were home educated, and she now home educates her own children. Sandy, why did your parents decide to home educate, and when did you start on this journey?
We started early. We started in about 1997, and I think we were among the first wave of homeschoolers in South Africa. It was around the time when it was still not really legal, but not really illegal. So they were. It was an interesting time, and I think my parents were very brave to start it. But it had been a dream of them for quite a while because my father's job, he was a nature conservator, and so we moved very frequently. We moved every 2 years, more or less, and so schooling was a little bit challenging in that kind of way, adjusting to new schools quite often. And so also we often lived very far away from towns where the schools were little farm schools. And so just before we moved to a place that was very, very rural, my parents started that journey with us. So I was 12 years old when I started. My brother was 10 and my sister was 5. So she never went to formal schooling. And I was schooled all the way up until I went to university. I was homeschooled. Yeah, and so it was one of the major reasons was because of just to provide the quality of education and the continuity of education, and then there were a whole lot of other philosophical reasons as well that we really sort of entered into the journey and took on this amazing life-changing thing that's homeschooling. Yeah.
Did you find it easy to adapt to the home education environment, and what were the big changes that you struggled with?
We were both very positive. I mainly will talk about my brother and I because we were similar age and my sister had never been to school. So obviously for us, we had experience of the schools, the formal school situation. And I really enjoyed the thing of having a teacher. Like I liked to sort of have her there, and I performed well in school, and I used to get a lot of praise in school, which my mom and dad didn't really think was a good thing for me as far as my personal development goes, because I sort of ended up doing things to please the teacher, not because it was necessarily like the right thing to do actually. And so yeah, so the biggest adjustment for me was in seeing my mom as like she's going to be teaching me things but she doesn't know everything. Like she doesn't know the things that the teacher knows, and she would say to me when we were going through especially the maths, she would say things like, oh, I don't know how to work that out, let's find out. And I didn't enjoy that in the beginning. Like I wanted her to know. But actually that experience has taught me so much good in my life, to be able to find things out for yourself, to know that the people that are in a sense leading you don't have all the answers a lot of the time, and that life is more about the journey and the exploration than it is about having the right answer. Having the right is the right answer. I sort of wanted to know what was the answer. So that was probably my biggest challenge. And then also the volume of work, because of the curriculum that we used, it was a lot of work. And I liked to work, and I liked to work in books, but it was a lot of work, and it was a large volume, and so that was quite an adjustment initially. One that paid off in the end, I must say. But probably those are the two biggest things. As far as self-discipline and things like that goes, that was sort of part of our life, I would say, generally. So we sort of had a very structured kind of day, and that suited our family well. So yeah, I would say those are probably the two biggest ones, and they were quite big ones initially. It took like about a year, I would say, for us to settle into the thing of, mom's sort of on this journey with us. She doesn't have all the answers, and that's okay. This is actually quite a nice and interesting thing to be able to find things out together. Yeah.
Yeah, home education is definitely not something that you jump in and the next day you feel comfortable with it. You have to find your rhythm. You mentioned now that you did lots of work and you enjoyed book work. So what approach did your mother use?
Yeah, we did a structured curriculum. We did have a curriculum, and it was from America, and it was TCE. I think they're still going now, and they also taught us a lot of just about homeschooling, because I think they were quite on the forefront of the whole movement of homeschooling in the beginning, and I think also because my mom comes from, like, homeschooling was still so new, there wasn't a lot of resource available and not a lot of support available. So we did that sort of way because it provided you with all the books. She felt comfortable knowing that we're learning what we're supposed to learn. And yeah, and that did work well because I think she felt more confident, and because of that, it really works nicely. And so we had like textbooks, and we sort of did school at home in a way. We had like our school hours from 8 to 12, which also sort of it did change as the years went on. It became a lot more fluid, although we still kept the school time. But we were three, and we were all different ages. So the sort of structured approach helped to keep the home running well, because we would have our tasks in the morning that we would all help to clean up the house, and then we'd have our lunch, and we would have clean up the whole house again afterwards. And we all took part in like homeschooling as a lifestyle. And so I think that it suited us as nicely. And yeah, I just enjoyed the academic side. I really wanted to sort of get stuck into a book, and when the thicker the book, the better for me. So yeah, so I really like that. But I mean, like that was different also for all of us, because my sister is very, very creative, and she just had a whole different way of learning. So that was just another adjustment for my mom. I mean, every child is different, and that's, I think, the challenge of the parent is to go with that with each of your children, and to discover how each of them learn, and then make space, for that falls on the parent. Just like it makes you amazing, eh? Yeah.
Now, you enjoyed studying and you went on to university. How did you find the difference between home education and tertiary education?
Yeah, probably because of our structured approach. I didn't find it much of a difference, and also because so basically, like because we did American curriculum, like our maths and science level was already first year university, which I finished when I was 16. And so when I went to university, like, and I saw the books, and I was like, yeah, this is fine, this is normal, I know how to do this. But one thing that I enjoyed was having a lecturer with the expert thing, was a little kernel of me was like, oh, this is somebody that I can ask a question to, and he should know the answer. So I really enjoyed interacting with the lecturers and sort of challenging them often, or asking them things, and having discussions, intellectual discussions. I really enjoyed that part. And then the workload was also just very familiar. I knew how to work on my own. I was self-motivated, took responsibility for my work. I saw a lot of my peers struggling with that. It was very difficult for them. The most common question in the lecture halls was, do we have to know this for exams? And I was one of the few people asking things to actually know, because I was interested. So probably like on that sort of social end of things, I found it challenging that there were so many people around me who didn't seem to actually be interested and just wanted to pass. So philosophically, in a way, I was like, why are you doing this just so you can pass? Why don't you want to know? Why don't you want to find out? Like, aren't you interested? And then socially also, like, we lived so far away from everybody. Anyway, just our home life was quite isolated, but we were in contact with a lot of researchers from overseas, and we interacted with adults that were very educated and sort of involved in our family life. So I felt like I was used to interacting with adults I was very comfortable. So in a way, it was interesting for me to sort of be around people my own age, and I found it fascinating to see what young people are talking about, because I didn't have much exposure to that. And then I became very involved in like dancing, ballroom and Latin dancing, which I did for 7 years at university, and had like a lot of fun and made nice friends. So I think that I feel that homeschooling, if you're doing it in a way where you're developing a relationship and you're building the child, you're focusing on the development of the child, not just the education, but also the whole person. You don't always need that sort of socially accepted or socially desired social setting for people to develop in. You develop within the family. You develop with your siblings who are different ages, who have different like sort of needs and maturity levels. You develop with your family, with other adults that are around you, and then that carries forward into the way that you interact with people. And I just feel like it served me very well, and in my university time and also in my work space. Yeah.
Now, you home educate your own children, and things have definitely changed since you were a child. We have loads of resources available now, plenty of support groups. So what would you say are the biggest advantages and then the biggest challenges of home educating your children?
Yeah, well, the resources that are available are absolutely incredible. And there's so many free resources, and there's so many high quality resources. Also so many people you can ask for help who are experts and have been doing this for a long time. which can also sort of have its negative sides, because there are so many people that you can ask, and everybody has their way of doing something, and there's so many different resources that all look amazing. It can be difficult to choose what to do, what to use. You can feel overwhelmed with all the choice available, and are you doing enough, and that kind of thing. I think that my own journey in homeschooling has helped me, because I sort of refer back a lot to my own experience, and how and learn from the good things, and take the good things, and then try to improve on the things that needed improvement. So I just think that I feel like, because of my experience, but new parents entering into homeschooling, I think it must be quite challenging, because of the vast amount of information and stuff that can be out there. But at the same time, you've really got an opportunity to make it amazing for your children. And also, like, a lot of schools are much more open to having children, homeschooling children for sport, which we didn't have. That was totally new. The schools were like, what do you mean homeschooling? I appreciate the resources available, and also the sort of the support groups that you can ask questions and find, people that are like-minded, even for your children to play with, and also that sort of just like really get what homeschooling is. Because I don't know many homeschoolers that are in my just sort of immediate surroundings, and people are generally like, oh, okay, you homeschool, okay, that's sort of fine. It's not too weird, but you do still get the questions of like, what about socialization? Which we are quite practiced in answering now, I think. But I mean, like, my brother and his sister, who was homeschooled, and my sister-in-law, like, they are not interested in homeschooling. He loved homeschooling, and he decided to go back to school when he was 16 because he just wanted to. And just really wanted to be sort of have the teacher and do school sports and have a uniform and stuff, and loved it. And so I just think that, it's a personal journey, but there's also sometimes it changes as you go, and that's also what's nice, to be able to see how other homeschooling families are doing things, and be able to learn from so many families who are writing and putting out content and stuff like that. So
What is the big thing that you are doing different to how your mum did it?
I'm not doing things in as structured way, because I've got a little baby, and my sister was already 5. Like, my little one is 2, and then almost 2, and then I've got a 9 and a 6-year-old. So that makes things very challenging as far as having school time, because this little one doesn't want to. He can't sit for longer than 20 minutes, and the children are not old enough to go on their own yet. So I've had to, that's been quite challenging, because as a person, I enjoyed the structured thing. But this is the amazing thing about homeschooling. It really challenges you as a mom to step outside of your comfort zones, and to explore yourself, and to also take on the thing that you want to do. You want to be committed to your children's growth in all aspects, not just academically, but you get to know them, and you sort of see like who are they and how do they learn, and then also to do things that you're not comfortable with, or you're not used to, and you really grow. So this is an amazing experience. I'm not doing things as structured. I can't, like, it's impossible to do things in a sense as I would like to. And like, my eldest son, he doesn't really enjoy the structure. They've never been to school, so he doesn't enjoy the book and this is how many pages we're going to do. You can't concentrate for that long. He's not interested. So, and in the beginning, I sort of wanted to say, oh, but, so you will learn and it will become better. But then I also asked myself, like, but is this what he needs? Is this how he learns? And, I sort of thought, like, probably not. So let me, like, to explore what else there is. And that's been very, like, enlightening and amazing. So I would say that would be the biggest change. But I would say that probably the thing that has stayed there that I really learned from my mom is the commitment to really learning your children and to stepping outside of yourself. I mean, she didn't have maths, she didn't have science, she did like typing and those kind of subjects at school. But and then she had me who did 9 subjects at the end of matric. I did like English, Afrikaans, science, history, geography, biology, biblical studies, and like all of them. I did all of them. I was interested in everything on higher grade, and she just went on that journey with me. She could have written that physical science high grade paper at the end of the day. So yeah, I find that very encouraging. I use that as like a guiding light.
Yeah, that is a very good example to have. I also find that stepping out of your comfort zone is actually sometimes really rewarding, to see that things can be done differently. And Just because they're
Yeah.
different does not mean they're wrong or they're bad.
Yeah, yeah. It's so true. Oh, so challenging, but it's just so strengthening, and I just think you as a person grow so much in such good ways.
Sandi, thank you very much for sharing your experience. And I wish you all the best on your journey.
Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you.